Hello, today I'm gonna be talking about my 30 favorite games starting from number 30 to number 21. Also a fair warning, this list is very subjective, so you have been warned. Fez is a pretty simple game. You're on a quest to repair a mysterious cube after it grants you the ability to see the third dimension. The game has some really clever puzzles that make use of this 2D to 3D mix, and there's a lot of stuff to do in it. Whether you want to 100% the game or not also affects the ending. However, just know that 50% of the collectibles in this game require you to understand a cryptic language hidden in the background. So, good luck if you want to attempt that because I didn't to the fullest at least. Rainworld is a game where you play as a little slug thing, which starts by trying to reunite with its family and ultimately scales into a journey of a much bigger scale. The game is very unique in the sense that it's a Metroidvania where you really have no directions of where to go at first. There's no abilities to unlock, and the weird symbols that show up at checkpoints don't seem to affect anything at first. What you're trying to do most of the time is survive. You're pretty much at the bottom of the food chain, and this makes the game extremely difficult at times. It's definitely not for the faint of heart, especially if you're afraid of bugs. But this design choice makes the game immerse in its ecosystem unlike any other game I've played. It truly feels like a living world, and uncovering the few secrets you can get from it feels very rewarding. So yeah, I do recommend it, but just let it be known that you'll die. A lot. You know how some games are never the same after you play through them the first time, and you wish you could erase your memories of them so you can go through them for the first time again? Return of the Obra Dinn is the perfect example of that. It's a murder mystery where you go into the past to see the fate that befell a merchant ship and each of its crew members, and you need to find out through clues, and sometimes lack thereof, the names of each crew member, how they died, and who or what killed them. It's a lot to take in at first, but as you narrow down the easier guesses, it gets super immersive. You want to know who is who and when they died, and when you solve the super hard to find hints, it feels amazing, it's really good. But then it ends, and you're just left with this feeling of wanting there to be more of the game, to not have it be over. But alas, the game lasts around 10 hours or less, and while it's a shame that you'll never be able to experience it again for the first time, it was really good while it lasted. It's Minecraft, like, I don't know what else to say here honestly. You know it, your grandma knows it, you know it's good. If I had to add anything to it, it's that even though I have played this game since I was like, I don't know, 10, I still have yet to legitimately beat the Ender Dragon, which is kind of embarrassing. You know how I just said that Fez has super cryptic puzzles? Yeah, well, Tunic is that, but on steroids. I'm not even gonna try to hide it. I had to look up a few guides for this game. The game's about this fox seemingly trying to free its fox mom? That's what it looks like at first, but the way this game transmits info to you is one of the most unique I've seen, and it's through a manual for the game itself that you find inside the game. It's pretty much like one of those old NES, SNES era manuals that have a guide for the lore of the game and how to use certain items, except it's both super fleshed out and also cryptic in a lot of ways, as some pages contain weird accents and symbols that don't make sense at first. Despite me having to look up some stuff about it, I still had a blast figuring it out when I could, and I don't want to spoil you how it all comes together, so if any of what I said sounds interesting, definitely check the game out. You know, I don't tend to cry when I play emotional video games. Hell, even when watching movies or series, only select few have been able to bring emotion out of me, but one exception to that rule is Owlboy. This game is labeled as a Metroidvania, but to be honest with you, the game is very linear. The story is like 90% of the game, and the rest of it is completely optional. And I'd even go as far as to say that the gameplay isn't anything out of this world. Like, it's fun, but it's kind of slow. But that main story. I beat this game in an entire day, and it really stuck with me, especially the ending act. That is the part that made me want to cry. I don't know if it was because I spent all day playing it or what, but it kind of got to me. Roguelike card games catch my attention pretty often, but every time I try one, I usually don't give it more than a few hours before I get bored of them. That did not happen to me with Legends of Runeterra at all. I've played this game consistently for the past 2 or so years, and I can see myself playing it for many years to come, which I can only say about very few games I've ever played. The game used to focus more around PvP, but after a while it got overshadowed by the solo roguelite mode, Path of Champions, and I have to say, the amount of content the game has here, entirely for free, maybe more than any other roguelike card game I've seen. There are many characters to unlock, Most of the League of Legends champions are here, and they keep adding not only more champions, but also alternate universe versions of them, which allows them to add an almost endless amount of content as the years go by. And each character has many different upgrades to unlock. And the best part is that there are both temporary and permanent upgrades to get. The mission modifiers are very damn fun, making it so that the game rarely ever gets old, although I will say that the most difficult modifiers here do get quite frustrating at times, especially if you don't have any characters maxed out, which becomes a downside for newer players who missed out on some of the events that give you more rewards. Unfortunately, the game is very underlooked, especially after most of the funding for it got taken down by Riot. But even as it stands now, it's got some of my favorite gameplay out of any card game I've played, and I sincerely hope more people give it a shot, because it would be a shame for this game to lose its remaining support. Yet another game that you can play once, and this time it really is only once. It's One Shot. I'm going to make this one short because it really is played best blind. But basically, you control this cat called Nico, he awakes in a dying world, and he holds in his hands a bulb that can restore light to the tower charged in keeping this world alive, and the game gets meta. That's all I'm gonna say. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is one of the few Kirby games I've played. I am a fan of the franchise mainly because of the lore and aesthetic, most of which I've consumed through YouTube, but I have played Superstar at the very least. However, this is the first Kirby game I bought on release, and I made a very good decision because most people agree that this is the best one to date. This is the first truly 3D Kirby game, and I don't know of any other franchise that has had as smooth of a transition. The mechanics taken from previous games fit in smooth as butter, and the amount of stuff to do here is enough to justify the price tag, but also not long enough as to make it a pain to 100%. And of course, if you know Kirby, you know that the game looks cute, but as you play it, things slowly start to get messed up, and there is plenty of that when it gets there. Speaking of games I beat 100%, that's not something I tend to do too often, even with games that aren't that hard to complete. As someone who is incredibly distracted and bad at long-term planning, only a few games have held my attention long enough that I was willing to play them all the way through and beyond. But here's another exception to that rule: Psychonauts 2. The first game has, for the most part, aged pretty well, and to be honest, it might be possible for it to make the list as well. But the quality of Psychonauts 2 and the amount of collectibles and levels there are, accompanied by the great story which continues super well from the first game even all these years later, puts it way above for me. If you like 3D platformers, this game isn't just a recommendation, it's a must. That does it for part 1 of my top 30. I'm hoping I can upload the next part soon. In the meantime, I'll see you on the road ahead.